It was a sentiment that was to be shared by many in the business. If you wanted to be big, your set had to be big as well. Without a fleet of trucks big enough to transport a circus, no rock band was really in business. The whole industry was beginning to change. When the artist Guy Paylart painted his fantasy portraits in 1973, he showed rock stars living in an increasingly showbiz world of cabaret and limousines.
There's an underlying unease here, definitely. You can feel it in it.
Meanwhile, Bowie himself was in trouble.
Avenue.
Despite the success of Diamond Dogs, DeFree's heavy spending had finally bankrupted his company. And Bowie had developed an increasingly heavy cocaine habit while living in Los Angeles.
Anything behind us?
Bowie went back to basics. No set, no frills, and a series of albums that saw him moving to a more sparse electronic sound. He also made a surprising move away from America.
Well, I get personal reasons for going to Berlin were really to get me out of Los Angeles, which at the time I knew nobody but bad people, and I was doing nothing but bad stuff.
In fact, Berlin was in many ways the perfect place for Bowie. It had been a kind of spiritual home for this whole movement of rock and roll. Lou Reed recorded an album called Berlin without having been there.
In Berlin, by the wall.
The Doors covered Kurt Weill songs, and now Bowie was to be joined there by another survivor of the era.
Meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames et Messieurs, Ladies und Gentlemen.
Iggy Pop had also been managed by Tony DeFries, and their partnership had ended in tears. He, too, needed a change.
I'd always been fascinated with the Germans. A lot of guys in rock and roll like the uniform, you know. And I went there with Bowie, and basically we just dug the whole idea that this was Berlin. This is a war zone. This is no man's land. And I had this book of Jim Morrison poetry, and one of the poems in it was about modern life as a journey by car.
I am the passenger, and I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and hollow sky. You know, it looks so good tonight.
Heroes and Lust for Life were both pure German products. The studio where those were made had a gun turret, a lookout post for the guys who would watch to try to keep people in the East, straight out the window of the control booth. Sometimes they'd wave to us. It's a hell of an atmosphere.
Absolute Ruhe, bitte.
The studio, Hansa by the Wall, was a very wise choice. There was no mistaking the sound. We had a feeling on tape immediately.
I wish you could swim.
And I carry that sound throughout every overdub. There's a kind of a clanging metallic sound, which is David or I hitting a big metal ashtray.
Nothing will keep us together.
We had a microphone about the customary 9 inches from his face. Then we had another microphone about 20 feet from himself. And then we had another microphone about 50 feet. And we put these things called gates, an electronic gate on each microphone, so that when he was singing, like, very quietly, like, you could be me and all that, like that, only this microphone was open. It had no gate on it. If he sang a little louder, the next microphone would open up with the gate, and that would make sort of this big splash of reverb. And then if he really sang loud, the back microphone would open up, and it would just open up this enormous sound.
Bowie's Heroes, released in the fall of 1977, foreshadowed the simpler, more direct sounds of punk and the electronic music of the 80s. It was, in a sense, also an epitaph for an era when rock stars had acted out extreme roles in an attempt to confront both themselves and their audiences. An era when, on stage at least, they could be heroes just for one day.